Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you today with an article from the Washington Examiner dated August 19th, and I'm going to cough. Not cutting that out. It says, is socialism as popular as the media think? No, it's not, because people know that socialism is awful and it's destructive and it kills everything it touches. But let's get into it. It says, democratic socialists have been getting the teenage idol treatment from giddy reporters and editors at legacy media outlets for years. Their newest crush is the jihadi apologist and Marxist New York City mayoral candidate Zoran Mamdani. In a 4,500-word cover story about the candidate, the meaning of Zoran Mamdani, Time magazine paints a caricature of a well-meaning, authentic, and not really so radical go-getter, so they are trying to clean him up. This is an ideologue interested in creative solutions is how Time puts it. Sure, Mamdani might support genocidal rhetoric, but the Jewish community will be pleased to learn that he often talked about the problem of anti-Semitism and the need for anti-hate crime funding. It says, is Mamdani, as many would have it, a generational talent whose campaign should be mimicked nationally by Democrats? For me, it's the author of the article, not me, Jason. It's difficult to see much meaning in the trope-ridden rhetoric he offers. I think the most important thing the candidate, who like most socialists is a child of privilege, notes, is that people see themselves and their struggles in your campaign. So deep stuff. His creative solutions entail fresh ideas like rent control, a policy Mamdani benefits from personally that was instituted in 1943. While journalists are mightily impressed, the truth is that Mamdani is running in a hard-left city against a gaggle of unlikable, corrupt has-been Democrats. Much like Representative AOC, his fame is propelled by his radicalism and youth. Neither of them has passed a single consequential piece of legislation, come up with a new idea, much less a solution, or delivered a memorable speech. Anyway, as one commenter pointed out, New York City is already something of a socialist city, with 40% of its residents living in rent-controlled apartments, 600,000 working for the city, and another 600,000 working for nonprofit groups largely funded by government. It says, you may recall that elegant gown AOC wore is another word for that. I don't know why I said wore when donned is right in front of me. So she donned with the slogan, Tax the Rich, written on it at the 2021 Met Gala, where guests selected by Vogue's Anna Wintour ponied up about $35,000 a pop to hobnob with the rich and famous at the Metropolitan Museum of Art. If I ever spend $35,000 to go to a dress-up party, I want somebody to actually put let's just say a former Washington basketball team's nickname, not the Wizards, but what their nickname was before that. I want to put one of them in my head, please. I think you get my point. It says, well, the top 1% pay about 48% of New York City's bills, and 0.01% pay nearly 31%. The New York's top 1% pay a combined 52% top tax rate, the highest in the country. The top 10% of earners paid about two-thirds of the city's income tax revenue. In 2023, 41% of taxes were paid by millionaires who make about 4% of the population. This technically, socialism entails the state controlling the means of production and distribution. Democratic socialism, on the other hand, entails young people demanding that others pay for all the benefits of the market system they pretend to detest. Yeah, it's basically like socialism is what that definition is there, and democratic socialism is you get to vote for that thing right there, that definition. Says, and there is no doubt that socialism is gaining popularity and normalization, which is deeply unfortunate, especially among the young. A recent poll by a Cato Institute and YouGov found that though 59% of Americans still had a favorable view of capitalism, that should be 100%, says 41% unfavorable, 62% aged 18 to 29 had a favorable view of socialism. So we have a bunch of retards in the country is all I can tell you. Says then again, more than a third of young people hold favorable views of communism, so even bigger retards. Says, do they really understand that 100 million people died trying to make it work? Maybe. Yeah, I don't think they care, though. That's the problem. Because the truth is that we don't even have a shared understanding of socialism. Governor Tim Walz defined socialism as neighborliness, which it has never at any point been throughout its entire crappy history. It says Google AI's definition of socialism is the control of production by the community as a whole, which is, as it says here, a cheery euphemism for the state taking your stuff by force. Yes, so Google AI is lying to you. It says there is even, according to artificial intelligence, a market-based socialism. Okay, it doesn't make sense, but sure. So it scrolled on me here. Let's go back up. It says, meanwhile, the resentful young have convinced themselves they're living in the worst era ever to have befallen man. People our age have never experienced American prosperity in our adult lives, which is why so many millennials are embracing democratic socialism, is how Harvard-educated writer Charlotte Alter once put it in a Time cover piece headlined, Change is closer than we think, inside AOC's unlikely rise. And turning to a economic system that has never worked anywhere it's been tried, and you think you're going to somehow fix it. The point is that it doesn't work, okay? But to turn to that and say, oh, that might work is just, it's stupidity, is what it is. It says, George Will recently argued that Mamdani's winning New York City would be beneficial in reminding the nation of socialism's many harms. Collectivist ideas always fail, yet they never die. Since the market-fueled gentrification of the 1990s, cities have become increasingly progressive and correspondingly more expensive and poorly run. The left will scapegoat corporations, billionaires, President Donald Trump, or Israel. Senator Bernie Sanders championed Hugo Chavez in the 2000s because Bernie is like chief retard. Because even after Venezuelans predictably began foraging for food, Sanders, one of the most popular politicians in the country, was still championing the same system. It's not as if we don't have the lessons already. Indeed, we have been having the same debates in perpetuity. The zero-sum fallacy that capitalism is inherently evil and rigged has been hammered into our conscience for centuries. We've convinced millions of Americans that a gaggle of rich people can trigger economic havoc for profit, control the economy to undermine the working class, and push commodity prices higher to reap the profits. It's a tragedy that Democrats continue to stagger leftward on all fronts to mollify and placate their activist class. It's not merely economics. The modern democratic socialist comes with a slew of positions that not only undermine quality of life, but clash with the moral outlook of normies. The pro-terrorist, pro-identitarian rhetoric, the championing of criminality and illegal immigration, the anti-modernity climate hysteria, and the deranged social science quackery on gender, just for starters. I wonder how popular socialism really is. So again, probably not. It says maybe our outlook will change one day, but right now there is no real evidence that a socialist outlook plays in most places. It barely plays in cities. If Democrats didn't split the vote between New York City Mayor Eric Adams and former Governor Andrew Cuomo, and perhaps found themselves a candidate who hadn't already tarnished themselves, Mamdani would likely lose. In an interview with the Wall Street Journal, former Chicago mayor and would-be 2028 presidential hopeful Rahm Emanuel championed resisting hard left ideas, contending Democrats should run on centrist ideas, such as build, baby, build, which is, Donald Trump's thing. This is how Democrats plan on doing this without rolling back the climate hysteria that undermines growth and squanders billions on half-baked energy plans is going to be interesting. But he has a point. Centrist Democrats are poised to win purple states like Virginia, showing far wider appeal than Mamdani, who can barely get any attention. One of the most popular governors in the country right now is Kentucky's Andy Beshear, a Democrat in a state with a Republican-controlled legislature that Trump won by over a 30-point margin. Why isn't he the way forward for Democrats? Other governors in the top 10 have similar dispositions, including North Carolina's Josh Stein and Pennsylvania's Josh Shapiro, both in states Trump won. All of them take moderated left-to-center positions without a full-throated embrace of anti-market, anti-Western, racialist positions, that are in vogue in cities. It says no GQ covers for them. As the Democrats have become a party of the rich and the dependent poor because the rich can afford socialism and the poor marginally benefit. California, Illinois, Massachusetts, and New York have seen significant net outward migration since 1990, while market-driven states with lower regulations and taxes like Florida, Nevada, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Texas have seen significant increases in newcomers. This is before implementing socialism. This is how popular is socialism? Far too popular. But not as popular as Democrats and the media would have us believe. At least, not yet. So that is the article here. What do you think about this? Do you think socialism is as popular as the media thinks it is, or no? Do you think it's a fallacy? Let me know in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.